that you're scared you can't beat them on the issues and the merits. That's why he keeps saying it's a political campaign against me. That's why he keeps saying they can't beat me at the election, at the polls. This is the only way they could do it. And if you don't put him in jail, and he still goes from being the presumptive GOP nominee to the official GOP nominee, and he goes to the polls, even though he was going to whine about winning and being rigged again, you have given more fodder to that argument.
Stephen A. Smith is one of the last people you would think would even a little bit defend Donald Trump or destroy the woke cult, as Stephen A. Smith obviously works for ESPN under Disney, and everybody who works for ESPN that's even a little bit anti-woke gets fired. But Stephen A. Smith is such a large name and has, been very, very viral multiple times talking about the woke side of things and siding with the woke side of things, that he kind of has built up enough goodwill with Disney and ESPN that it seems like whatever he's on his own platforms, at least. This one is coming from the Stephen A. Smith show. And then another clip that I'll show you here in 1 second is from the PBD podcast over there with Patrick Bet-David. But it seems like Stephen A. Smith is actually able to say his true thoughts. And a lot of them are actually very, very anti-woke. And in this clip right here, he destroys his woke audience. He straight up goes against, because you know that 90% of Stephen A. Smith's audience is very, very woke, because that's how he has been for the last few years. Anyway, let's get into this clip here. This one is obviously tweeted out by Charlie Kirk. It says, ESPN Stephen A. Smith calls the Get Trump Lawfare crowd a bunch of cowards. All you're doing is showing that you're scared you can't beat him, talking about Donald Trump, on the issues. Everything you do shows me that you can't beat him. This is Stephen A. Smith talking about Donald Trump and people trying to get him in court instead of just voting against him. Let's check this out.
To my liberal friends out there, all you're doing is showing that you're scared you can't beat them on the issues and the merits. That's why he keeps saying it's a political campaign against me. That's why he keeps saying they can't beat me at the election, at the polls. This is the only way they could do it. And if you don't put him in jail, and he still goes from being the presumptive GOP nominee to the official GOP nominee, and he goes to the polls, even though he was going to whine about winning and being rigged again, you have given more fodder to that argument. Which means we'll never have peace in this country, because tens of millions of people see what extent the other side is willing to go through just to keep him out of office, because they can't beat him on their own merits. And they're going to say, hey.
And this is what happens every single time. Someone like Russell Brand or Joe Rogan or anyone who has common sense, who has been traditionally their entire life, or at least their entire adult life, has been left-leaning, liberal, woke, part of that crowd. As soon as they start to exercise their ability to, use common sense within their brain, they start to become more conservative. And this is just the beginning, I think, for Stephen A. Smith. I think Stephen A. Smith is actually a lot more conservative than he leads on to be, but he can't go to the full extent of exposing the woke cult like he wants to and going full conservative like he wants to, because if Stephen A. Smith did that, he would probably get fired from ESPN and lose out on a ton of money. But maybe we'll see that very, very soon from Stephen A. Smith. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of signs like this from him in the last year or so. Anyway, let's get into the rest of the clip.
You trump this up against him again, and we'll have no peace, when all you got to do is figure out a way to beat him on the issues. But you haven't been able to do it.
Well, they can't do it. And that's never been what the left was about anyway. That's never been what the woke cult was about anyway. Like Stephen A. Smith was saying right here in this clip about Donald Trump, they don't have any interest in beating him on any of the issues that he actually discussed, any of the issues that he's running on, trying to solve. And that's not just a Donald Trump thing. Like what Stephen A. Smith was talking about there, that's just a left thing in general. And I say it all the time. It's never been about, like, when these people like Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg and all these other people, it's never been about making the world a better place, making the country a better place, improving the country, improving the living of, improving how many homeless people there are, or making cities. It's never been about any of these things. All it is about my side winning, and that's it. And that's all they've ever cared about. And Stephen A. Smith is starting to realize, oh, wait, there's a reason why we can't beat Donald Trump on any of the issues, like Stephen A. Smith was saying. Like, there's a reason why. And it's because they don't care about those things. All they care about is my side winning, Donald Trump losing. That's it. That's all they care about. And that's obvious. And the fact that, you know, people like Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg and The View and Destiny, they said that Joe Biden's doing a great job and that they're going to vote for him again. Even Stephen A. Smith is still saying he's going to vote for him again. He says that in this clip right here. Let's check this out really quick. This is Stephen A. Smith over on the PBD Podcast on Valuetainment with Patrick Bet-David, grilling him on who he's going to vote for and why. And let's check this out. Is he actually going to vote for Donald Trump? This video is titled Cult Following. Stephen A. Smith may vote for Trump. Let's check this out.
Of October.
Okay.
Stephen A. came out.
Okay.
Let's be real here.
Sure.
You came out on your podcast, obviously not at the network you would, but on your podcast, you said, guys, I'm going to say something right now. You guys are going to be very upset at me.
Okay.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Happen if you in the month of October said I'm voting for Trump? What would happen?
I'd be called a sellout and a coon by my own community. That would be automatic. That's exactly what they would say. But what I would tell you is to know something about me, I wouldn't give a damn. I'm not scared. I'll say what I feel. Let me tell you, let me address.
And I believe him. You know, let me know in the comments if you believe him. I believe what Stephen A. Smith is saying to Patrick Bet-David here, that he doesn't care. I think I believe him to an extent, like what his own people would call him a coon and all that stuff. I don't think he would care. What I do think Stephen A. Smith does care about, though, is the money, the bag that he's getting from ESPN, because it's obviously very large. I mean, Stephen A. Smith is a pretty big name nowadays. So they're probably giving him a pretty penny, you know, and I think it would be dumb if that's what you primarily care about over the well-being of the country to give up that money from ESPN. So let's see if he really does not care about money, about ESPN. Let's see if Stephen A. Smith really just cares about bettering the country and making the world a better place. We'll find out in the next 6 months.
The point that you made earlier, my belief is I'm going to vote for Biden. Now, you have to remember, it's how you're looking at the presidential election might be a little bit different than me. For example, I'm the kind of person that might vote for the president being a Democrat and every other position Republican. Every senator, every congressional figure, every local. In other words,
that's what's called being brainwashed. Okay, that's what's called being. You know what the right thing for the country is. It's to have someone who is more right leaning, to have someone who is, you know, Republican. And I'm not saying all Republicans are good. There's obviously a ton of Republicans that are evil and don't have the best interests of the country or the world in mind, of course. But that's what's called being brainwashed. That's what's called someone living so rent-free in your head that even though you know for a fact Donald Trump would be better for the country than Joe Biden, you're going to vote for anyone but Donald Trump because you're brainwashed. And Stephen A. Smith is then saying, but every other position in the country, I'm going to vote for a Republican because I know that that's what's better for the country. I just can't. My programming will not allow me to vote for Donald Trump, to try to promote Donald Trump to become president. That's what's called being brainwashed.
it's because I view the presidency, I understand it's the commander in chief. I get it. But I view, and listen, I will preface it by saying I'm open to correction. I truly am. I view the presidency as more of a statesmanship position. I would, if I interviewed Trump, I would look him in his face and tell him why. I would never, I'm not calling you a racist. I'm not saying that all of your policies were wrong. Hell, the economy was thriving before COVID. I remember. But you don't know how to act. You just, I said, you don't care.
Does Joe Biden know how to act? The guy can barely stay awake while giving a speech on stage. The guy can barely stand up. The guy can barely read off the teleprompter. I mean, he gets lost over and over again unless they drug him up. So I don't understand what Stephen A. Smith is saying here. Why Donald Trump doesn't know how to act. I mean, there was peace across the world, basically, while Donald Trump was president. How does he not know how to act?
What you say, you don't care about how divisive you come across. You don't have any sensitivity whatsoever to how you scare the living hell out of people with your rhetoric. And
who cares, man? This is the meme that everybody talks about, what Stephen A. Smith is saying right here. It's like, yeah, we have all of these wars happening. We have all these countries moving on our allies that were terrified to do that whenever Donald Trump was in office. Yeah, all these things are happening, but guess what? There's no mean tweets. Like, that is literally the meme that Stephen A. Smith is embodying right now. by saying you don't know how to act, you don't care how divisive you come across. It's like, okay, does Joe Biden care about divisive he comes across whenever he tweets out it's National Day of Trans Visibility or whatever the hell on Easter instead of tweeting out Happy Easter, even though he claims to be a Catholic? Like, is that not divisive and not caring about how divisive you come across? Why is it only Donald Trump that gets that flack?
Your aloof, I don't know if the word is aloofness or just a disregard for the importance of unity. You believe in America, I believe in America. Let me tell you what I believe in about America. I believe that when we're together, nothing can stop us. Nothing. I don't care if it's a bad president. I don't care if it's bad people.
I'm sorry to tell you, Stephen A. Smith, man, and everybody else who's watching this, I don't think there will ever be a time going forward in America's history, or America's future, that we will ever be together again. I don't think that will ever happen, because I don't think the powers, I don't think the people that are making the rules, that are calling the shots, I don't think they want us to be together. They'd rather us be divided, and that's very obvious to me and probably you watching this video. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about these couple of clips here from Stephen A. Smith. I thought this one was a great one, and it's cool to see people like Stephen A. Smith say things like this and start to wake up and try to wake their audience up as well. This clip coming from the Stephen A. Smith show. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about Stephen A. Smith. Definitely starting to wake up, but still not all the way woken up, or at least he's acting like he's not all the way woken up. Maybe that's for a check from ESPN. Maybe that's because his software just hasn't updated yet. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about Stephen A. Smith seemingly leaving the left wing. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and hope to see you guys on the next one.